Hello, welcome back. You've just been listening to Cranford Nix. He writes, composes, and sings his own music. And if you noticed, the music was about drugs, and Cranford is going to take us on a little journey and tell us about when he got caught up in drugs and how he got out of it. So, Cranford, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Liz. How are you today? Thank you.
Very good.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about your songs and your drug recovery?
Okay. Well, about 10 years ago, I grew up in Detroit, and when I got out of school, I had $60 and I moved to Hollywood, and I had like a nickel by the time I got to Hollywood. And the place it's a real drag there. It's if you have no money, I mean, it would be a blast if you had some bread, you know, like. So basically, I lived in the street. I lived in like a '72 Cadillac with Detroit plates on it.
Oh my God.
For like a few weeks, eating peanut butter, and slowly, like I was like dabbling in drugs at the time. You know, it's so weird because people always say that one drug leads to another. You know, and for some people it doesn't, but for me it definitely did. Mm-hmm. And I was, you know, I started, you know, I was smoking cigarette butts off the streets. You know, I wanted to play guitar, and I thought you had to like go through some sort of like initiation, you know, like you had to like pay your dues, but which I still think is true, but not to, you know, like I was just really stupid. And
did you know anybody out there at all when you went out?
No.
Wasn't that scary? You said you were 17?
Yeah, it was.
Oh my God.
It was. Yeah, it was really, really scary. Yeah, and I met these girls. I was stealing candy bars from 7-Eleven, picking up cigarette butts off the street. It was scary. It was like but I mean, it was scary. You know. That
was your dinner, candy bars, things like that.
Well, you know, you get lucky because I was a musician, and you could always like, you know, at the time Hollywood was really like around 1986 was really booming, and so there was like you could like musicians have a, you know, there's a way you always get free beer, you know, when you're doing a gig, and then you get like somebody to buy your dinner after the show, you know, like, and it's
and then go back to your car and retire.
Right. One of the great things about being a musician. So I met this girl, and things weren't going good, you know. I was just a kid, and she was from San Francisco, and she was a runaway with a credit card, and I love them. There's nothing like that. And she took me to San Francisco and let me stay in like this place with her and her friends, or all these, you know, kids who had, you know, dropped out. California is a funny place. It's a lot different, you know, from here. And slowly I started doing crystal methane, speed, and crank, and with these kids, you know, none of us worked or anything, you know, and we'd beg for quarters and stuff and have a lot of laughs. It's a hell of a lot of fun in the beginning, you know, hanging out with a bunch of crazy cats.
Now, did you start out with crystal methylene, or did you start out with pot, or you?
I started with pot. Alcohol is how it started. Then, you know, started smoking pot. Then I did cocaine. I loved that, you know, like that was. And then I started doing these amphetamine speeds, you know, and then you're like up for like 8 days, you know, like.
Now, what was happening to your music at this time?
At the time, I think it was, I was learning how to write songs. I don't think that had anything to do with it. The music was doing good, and I was doing better and better. And as like time went on, my band, I had put together a band, and it got bigger and bigger. And then someone offered me heroin, and I always thought that drugs would enhance the stuff, so I tried it, and I liked it. And it took it takes a long time, you know, it doesn't like happen overnight or nothing, you know, and I was smoking heroin at first, and I was snorting it, and then I started shooting it. And then by that, you know, when you start shooting it, you know, like you're frazzled. Then I met this girl, the first girl who drove me up there. Me and her split up, and I met another girl, and she lived in New York, so I moved to Manhattan, and that's...
Now, you got married in California, right?
Oh, no.
Oh, you didn't get married there?
No.
Oh, okay.
I have a son, but I didn't get married.
Okay,
yeah,
but
yeah.
you do have a 6-year-old son.
Yeah. His name is Phineas. Yeah.
Phineas? Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
That's very different.
His mother's doing well, and she's not a drug addict or anything. And for a lot of years, I was like out of his life because of, you know, being a complete mental case. You know, like is all, you know, you can say.
So the drugs sort of stole your music away from you while you were in Hollywood? And now you're going back to Manhattan? you
No,
said?
it was growing the whole time, you know, like
Okay.
then. And then I got to Manhattan, then I started doing heroin every day. And then I started using $100 in heroin a day. Or if I had $200 a day, I would do $200 in heroin. I would do my, you know what I mean? And it wouldn't kill me no matter how much I had. I mean, like,
You probably hoped it would at some point.
oh
I'm
yeah,
sure.
definitely, yeah. But in Manhattan, I started doing really well. I got this house gig. It's a house band at a bar called the Scrap Bar, which is a really big bar in Manhattan. And a lot of famous people go there, and it was really cool. And I was doing all these drugs, and then like you know, you can't get up in the morning without getting high. You can't, you know, I couldn't write anymore. You know, slowly over a period of a few years, all my friends are leaving. I've stole everything that, you know, I could steal from them. You know, because.
So it was fun at first, and now it's getting
yeah.
uglier.
Oh, it got
every
really
moment.
ugly, yeah. One of the ugliest moments was a friend of mine had a gold tooth that got pulled, and I took the gold tooth into a pawn shop, and I was like, how much would you give me for this tooth?
Oh my
You know, it's like, those are like every day.
Oh my
like,
gosh.
Like, and I only got like $6 for the tooth, by the way, so I was like 4 short. Yeah.
So did you go look for any other teeth in his mouth while he was sleeping or anything?
No.
Did he gold digger you?
But it was bad, yeah. And you see like a lot of awful things, you know, like, because you have to go in these houses where, you know, and like deal with people like pimps and stuff to get these drugs, and you see women being beaten, and it's I don't know, do you know what I mean?
Now, what about, you said you were shooting up heroin. Now, at that time, did you fear AIDS or anything like that, or you just didn't think about
At
it?
the time, you don't fear it, and you know, and when you're on that stuff at that point, I think every junkie is the same. You don't care if you live or you die. I think you'd rather be dead because it sucks. You know, that's like, you know, the way like, and then when you get off it, you know, I went to rehab and I stayed there 6 months, and
Well, what was your low point that drove you to rehab?
I'm telling you, there were so many. Do you know that I can't like just specify like one low point, because it was a series of low points, you know, and varied, you know. It just, I can't, I'm trying to think what would be, just the whole thing was a drag, you know. I got busted, I got arrested in Manhattan. My hair was like really short, and I weighed like about 110 pounds. I was really, really, really skinny, and I had lipstick and eyeliner on, and I was arrested
Oh my God.
in Greenwich Village and taken to the downtown booking, and which was a real drag, being put in like a cell with like 80 like Manhattan Greenwich Village criminals wearing lipstick and eyeliner. You know, I didn't go over like a.
So then you got into recovery, and you've been recovered now for
2 years,
2 years.
and 3 days. Yeah.
Okay, and now what's happening with your music?
Well, I finally started playing again because there's such a tie-in with music and drugs, and but now I'm just doing acoustic shows, and I'm just doing them around Florida, and I don't think I'm going to be here much longer because I want to play again. But you know, I've been playing. I played in Gainesville last weekend, and that went really well. And I've been played in Ybor a month ago. You know, but
Great. Well, Cranford, what would you? We're going to go to some of your music here shortly, but what would you say to the young people out there and young musicians that, you know, get caught up in drugs? How might they avoid that?
You know, it's so hard because you can tell people, you could show them like their life, you know, like 20 years of their life, and they'll still go, you know what I mean? They're not going to believe you. It's a drag. I mean, I know. I had in the beginning it was like hella fun, but like at the end it's so dismal, and you are, you know, I wanted to die. I nearly did twice, you know, and it's you know, it's nowhere, but who's going to listen? But it is nowhere. I know, you know. I've been nowhere. I got a P.O. box there.
Well, Cranford, you're back, and we're going to be watching for you to, you know, really be on the pop charts. And I think if you keep your head straight, you'll probably be able to do that. And we're going to hear from Cranford here shortly. We're going to go to a public service announcement, and we'll be right back.